he came up and started talking. The terrible part of his speech is like, obvious racial undertones, and MS-13 is going to move in next to you, and the inner city mobs are coming for you, etc. And then the second half that was absurd was he's like, and remember, everything belongs to us. The frontier and even the stars belong to us. Wait, why? I don't know. Am I not a patriot if I question whether the Orion's belt is actually American property? I mean, this is absurd, right? The stars are ours, and our Space Force will start Star Wars if you mess with us. But this is the absurdity of the Republican convention. And then, of course, nonstop insults of Democrats, including what Matt Gaetz says was woke-topians. I don't think that one resonates. That was a little funky.
I think you're trying to get it to stick. I'm trying to figure out, okay, so what do they do? Because here's the thing, if they hit us with policy, which I'd love to hear their policy. And we know what half the policy normally is pump more money to the military, more tax cuts. I'm trying to think of a third. I mean, I'm trying to get a good third normal Republican railing of their agenda, but those are the two main ones. More military, and guns. So those are your three main veins of what many Republicans say. So how do you get that? How do you regenerate that to have some kind of a policy position? Because we already know that the RNC platform has not been changed since 2016 because they followed Donald Trump's lead and were unprepared, didn't modify what they're saying, didn't give us a vision of what they want to do in the second term. So they kind of have nothing to really glom onto except for anger, disdain, and shooting down at Democrats. Yes, that happens at the Democrat convention, so I understand that. Democrats do talk about Republicans and how bad they are at governing and what they've been doing and did it for a week, but at least there's evidence we're looking at right behind it. So when someone says Donald Trump caged children or Donald Trump dropped the ball on the pandemic, Donald Trump continues to not take it seriously, those things we've been watching happening. So when you say the caravan is coming from Central America and Mexico, when you say they're going to empty the prisons, let the criminals out, come and kill you at your front door, no one has seen these things. So it has to be this fantasy land of Armageddon that Democrats are riding on the top of the fiery waves of and are laughing as it burns you. That just isn't reality. It's a cartoon. And you're getting people to vote for you based off of cartoons instead of the reality that's happening. And last thing, this is more Matt Gaetz. He said the junior senator was picked to be the vice president candidate. I'm getting flashbacks of when Obama was running for president, and all they could do was talk about how he's this freshman senator or he's this young guy, inexperienced, doesn't know anything that he's doing. There's this guy in the White House right now who has far less experience than anyone that they could ever talk about, but they only talk about the lack of experience when it comes to a person of color. Let's keep it real. So black folks that have catapulted themselves through the political echelon of positions here, now they're unqualified. They're this junior senator that you just threw in here just because she's a black woman. What are you there for? What is the president in position there for? What did you guys say about him when he was running for president in 2015 and he was completely inexperienced? All of his skeletons were dropping out of the closet. You said he's inexperienced. You said he's wild. You say he swings crazy. That he's brutish. That he's a bully. They said all these things about him. Suddenly he's the second coming of Jesus that he doesn't believe in. So they need to keep some semblance, I think, of a message in place, but it just doesn't matter. So as we watch it and we have these criticisms, the people that they're speaking to don't have these criticisms because they just don't care. So I mean, obviously we're not the audience because
So Jayar, I want to address those 2 points. Number one, yes, there's no new RNC platform. The Republican Party gave up on writing a platform. If you think about it, it's super logical because if whatever Donald Trump's ideas are today, he'll change them tomorrow. And then the next day, what's the point of writing down anything? Okay, it just depends on whatever jumps into Donald Trump's head. He's changed his own policies back and forth an overwhelming number of times. Of course there is no policy. The only policy is we bow down to Trump. We love authoritarian rule. Now, secondly, the most important point you're making, Jayar, and probably the thing that'll decide the election is when Republican base saw the George Floyd protests, They saw some looting because local news loves loot porn and riot porn, right? And so they show that on a loop. They take 1 or 2 instances from any city and just replay it 1,000 times and drill it into people's heads. When Republican voters see that, they go, panic, panic. It's black people, they're coming. I knew it, and they're gonna burn down my house. Okay, it doesn't matter how unrealistic. It doesn't matter that their house never got burnt down. It doesn't matter that nobody ever came to their neighborhood. Facts don't matter at all. The only thing that matters is fear, because that's the #1 thing that triggers Republicans: fear. Once you get aroused that fear, you got them forever and ever and ever. They'll give their banana to the alpha monkey every time. Okay, so but in these protests, they were not just leftists or African Americans or minorities. These protests were very, overall, enormously peaceful. Yes, there was some percentage of burning and looting, but it was tiny, especially compared not only to the overall protest, but to past civil unrest, okay? So now, and it was broad-based. It was white folks came and joined, moms joined, veterans joined, babies joined. And in fact, Donald Trump's popularity on the protests was about 1/3 to 2/3, very negative on that. At times even more negative than how he has handled coronavirus. So the Republicans should be wrong about their thesis on who the majority in this country is. If the majority actually comes out and votes, Donald Trump, on his argument alone, that Matt Gaetz argument of the protests are terrible, we should crack their skulls and make sure they don't get anywhere near you. And that's Donald Trump's argument, without a doubt. Obviously, as you saw, tear gassing the protesters to do the photo op with the Bible. If he, based on that thesis, based on the polling, he should get wiped out. It should be an epic landslide. And in fact, that's why even as big as Biden's lead is today, I can't believe that it's not bigger. It should be double digits in all the swing states. And because I think the Republicans are wrong. That's not this country. It's been this country for a long time, but I think that number went from about 40% of the country in 2016 was just razor thin enough to win, to now about 35% of the country, and that is not anywhere near enough to win. It should cause a landslide. But I don't know, either something weird's gonna happen, or you never know. The Democrats could lose any election at any time. Don't put it past them to lose this election. But they should get wiped out on the Republican idea, let alone the Democratic ideas.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.